It's pretty disturbing, obviously, sad. But what is not is I keep hearing this attack on democracy. It's not. Democracy will prevail. It always does, Mark. It shows a lot, though. When you saw the protests in the summer and you saw the riots or more the police and the National Guard and the Army, and then you see this and you saw nothing. It basically proves the point about a privileged life, in a lot of ways. I'll say it because I don't think a lot of people want to. Could you imagine today if those were all Black people storming the Capitol and what would have happened? So that to me is a picture that's worth 1,000 words for all of us to see, and probably something for us to reckon with again. No police dogs turn on people, no billy clubs hitting people, people peacefully being escorted out of the Capitol. So it shows that you can disperse a crowd peacefully, I guess, would be the one thing. But it's a sad day in a lot of ways. It's not good for our country, more across the borders that people see this, but it's part of what we are, and so we have to solve it.
Part
Doc Rivers,
of what we are.
Spot on,
and I,
as usual.
Yep. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna take exception to one small thing that he said.
I know what it is. Probably the same thing I'm going to take exception to. You go ahead and do it for both of us. The first part.
When he said, I'll say it because not a lot of people want to say it. That part. That's not true. I said it. You said it. Every Black person in America said it.
Maybe some about white people. Maybe some about white people. Maybe a lot of white people don't say that. But I've heard some white people say that too.
I'm about to say, yes, they said it too.
Yeah.
It's like everybody said the same. Black people yesterday all had the same reaction. All of us. Some of us said it better than others. You had your Doc Rivers and your Joy Reids, and you had some other people who just put it on Twitter or put the picture of the military presence, for Black Lives Matter protests. Michael, again, since yesterday we were singing hymns, and I told you that I wasn't going to let these people steal my joy over the fact that joy is coming in the morning in the form of a new president, a democratically controlled Senate and House. But man,
we're still in the weeping, enduring.
Okay, good. Yeah,
we're still in the weeping part, right?
Let's weep. Because what honestly brings me to tears of frustration is the contrasts, the contradictions, the juxtapositions, the double standards, the inconsistencies. We have been, the hypocrisy. We have been highlighting these. We have been pointing these out since the beginning of time, since the beginning of this country. Throughout this movement,
look at this.
This movement for Black lives. Throughout this movement for Black lives, okay, we have been talking about the two Americas. But Michael, what I realized yesterday, when every Black person said the same thing, because we instinctively know it, that we couldn't get away with that, we wouldn't even think to try it. Okay, we will show up peacefully. We like that right to peacefully assemble. We read that part. We show up peacefully because we know what's gonna happen if we don't obey every command.
And even if we're peaceful.
And even if, but Michael, what I'm getting at though is it's not accurate. Look at this. Everybody tweeted the same thing. We're not asking you to shoot them like you shoot us. We're asking you to not shoot us like you don't shoot them. Everybody, it was all over Instagram, all over Twitter, the same thing. And the reason everybody's tweeting the same thing is because by now and long before now, it should have been so blatantly obvious, okay, what we were trying to say. Michael, we're preaching to the choir. Yesterday, we took people to church. We went to church yesterday. It was so painfully obvious last night that we're preaching to the choir. Because, Michael, hypocrisy is not unconscious, okay? We talk about unconscious bias. Ain't nothing unconscious about this bias that we've been railing against.
No.
You think they don't know that there are different rules for them versus us? You think they don't know that? You think somebody yesterday was like, you know, up until the Capitol was sieged, I never considered that black people and white people were treated differently.
Right.
But now that you mention it, maybe there's something to this whole racism thing. Like, I don't see that happening. So as much as we're angry about it, I wonder if people are actually going to hear it, or are things just going to continue the way they've always been? Like, we can change policy, but are we actually changing the hearts and minds of the people involved? When just a couple of weeks ago, we were debating, I don't mean to derail this, but just a couple of weeks ago, I'm making a point.
You on point,
but I'm making
on point, my brother. Keep going.
No, but this point I'm going to make is not to derail a conversation, but it's just to emphasize. A couple of weeks ago, we were debating the effectiveness or ineffectiveness of defunding the police. Do you want to revisit that conversation today? Not you, Michael Holley, but everybody. Do you want to revisit it today? Okay? Like, that's what it's been about. That's what it's always been about. You said this yesterday, Michael. People way more articulate than us have been writing about this for centuries, have been speaking about this for centuries, okay? That we are not recognized as equal, and we don't get equal protection under the law. We do not have the complexion for the protection. So why all of a sudden should I believe that yesterday, this is the most stark, that white privilege in a picture yesterday, moving and stills, white privilege was in a picture yesterday. Are people all of a sudden going to believe, those that are still holding out, that white privilege actually does exist? Do you believe that that's going to change overnight, Michael Holley? Because I'm skeptical that it won't. Because they knew it to begin with. They always know. They knew all along. It was never about ignorance. If it was ignorance, it was willful ignorance.
Look, there have been so many examples. The reason I'm smiling, again, I have to smile. I have to smile.
Crying. Hey, Michael Holley, all you can control is your smiles and cries. That's all you got. That's all you can control. It's just smiles and cries. Go ahead, brother. I had to get that in.
I like it.
Never again. Listen, anytime you can go to training day, you go to training day. Go for it.
There it is. And I'm sure there'll be other training day references here. And how about that? Yeah, here's a training day reference when it comes to what you're talking about. This is chess, not checkers, right? I mean, this is. But they know. You should know if you are over the age of 12. Mm-hmm. I'm going that low, really. Probably even younger. You know. You should. Mike, I was getting a little run in earlier before the show.
Did you?
Had the music on. So one song that came on was People, you gotta get over before we go under. All right, so James Brown, that's like an old song, Funky President, right?
Yeah.
So James Brown, talking about it in a song. Then Jimi Hendrix came on. The Power of Soul, Everything is Possible. All right, it goes back to, are you hearing Jimmy? Are you listening? Like Jimi Hendrix, James Brown, your favorite rapper's favorite rapper, Audre Lorde in poetry, Toni Morrison in novels. We mentioned Ta-Nehisi Coates and James Baldwin, W.E.B. Du Bois, your professor at your local university, the high school English teacher who represents the diversity in your town. I mean, like so many people have said it. Michael Holley, Michael Smith. There is no excuse in every form. Chris Rock, and before Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy, and before Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor.
Yeah, I mean, Red Fox. Yeah.
There's so many people who have put it out there. You remember the one Saturday Night Live skit from Eddie Murphy, where he's the last brother gets off the bus, they look around, and it's all white people, and he's like, oh, this is the white world. He goes into a bank, He said, what's your name? I'm Mr. White. He's looking for a loan. Here's the money. Take all of it, Mr. White. Here you go.
Yeah.
And his exaggeration of what you just said, these two Americas. Please don't insult us by saying you don't understand. That will stop the conversation. That will prevent a conversation from happening. Now, if you will say, if we have some honesty and you say, I see it, but I don't want it to go away because it benefits me. I don't like that answer, but at least it lets me know that you know. Like, let's not stand around and pretend like something is happening. Let's not play make-believe here. Like, I don't understand. What is Colin Kaepernick protesting? What does he want? The message is not clear. Or in the case of Jacob Blake, well, he shouldn't have had a knife. In the case of Breonna Taylor, well, she may have been a drug dealer. It's always some excuse.
And it doesn't have to. And you talked about the literature and art and comedy and satire and commentary. Like there are countless, and you just pointed out a few. The way Dylan Roof was treated. There are countless examples that we constantly point to, and we're strictly talking about police. We're talking about police again. Like the extreme manifestation of systemic racism in our country is police brutality. Like I've said this a million times. Like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We still on life. Black lives. We still on life. Right. We ain't even talking about liberty and pursuit of happiness. That's a whole nother conversation, and we'll get there once we just got the right to live while black. Okay, let's just focus on that right now. Okay, so there have been countless examples of in real time of police dealing with black people differently than white people over and over again that we pointed out, and it falls on deaf ears. But even in everyday life, whether it's in business, sports, since we're ostensibly a sports show, just society at large, it's like every time it's pointed out, like there you go, white privilege, it's slavery. So is yesterday going to be some kind of a tipping point, some kind of inflection point, the way that we were told or led to believe or duped to believe, as the case may be, that George Floyd getting his neck kneeled on was going to be the thing that woke America up once and for all. That was the police brutality caught on camera that was going to change hearts and minds. That was. Ask Jacob Blake about that. Okay?
Except,
so
see, once again, see, it's always looking for black perfection as an excuse for why black life doesn't matter. Well, they weren't perfect. So George Floyd, well, he did pass that Confederate bill, that counterfeit bill. So, this is, let's not talk about him like he was an angel. It's always something. Hey, Trayvon Martin, well, he may have said something. There's always
justifiable.
There's always
and that narrative of
thing.
us as threat. That narrative of us as threat always sells. Always flies.
And so I think this is where
it always flies.
I think this is where it will change. I think there will be a change. And this is where I think here's a realistic change.
Okay. Help me out.
That black people, that black Americans, the majority, because it's never going to be everybody, that the majority of black Americans who have believed that, hey, if you only fill in the blank, if you only work hard, if you are only, if you are well behaved, if you are
subscribe to respectability politics,
all that, if you are an asset to your community, all this stuff, a credit to your race, all this stuff, that things will be easier for you. I'm hopeful that some eyes will be open. Another group that helped you out, Earth, Wind, and Fire, open their eyes, okay? So I would hope that the eyes would be open and you see that this is all a lie. This is all from people who don't want to deal with reality, who don't want to be honest with themselves. For example, yesterday, how long did it take? About 5 seconds? Took about 5 seconds. We saw what happened. We saw people going in with other symbols of a treasonous U.S. existence, which is a Confederate flag. They lost. Mm-hmm. They don't want to deal with it, just like Donald Trump does it. They lost. Civil War is over. But they're still holding on to this as a sign of heritage. So we saw people going in with Confederate flags. We saw the Make America Great Again hats. We saw the Trump flags. We saw these were clearly Trump people. One of them was interviewed. Man, why did you go in there? It's the revolution. Taking over the Capitol. A lot of conspiracy theorists all in there. And shortly after that, there's some floating from one of the journalists, Britt Hume, saying, well, that might have been, not excusing it, but there may have been some people from the left in there infiltrating.
I'm gonna get to that. I want to get deeper into that.
Wow.
I got something to say on that later. I got something to say on that later.
Wow.
Don't let those bullets fly yet. Hold on. Don't let those bullets fly yet, because we got. Okay.
I'm going to come back to. I'm just going to come back to. Not letting somebody else define your narrative. Not letting somebody else tell you, articulate who you are as a person of color in the United States. Not letting somebody say, well, if you protest, you're a thug. Or, hey, the reason you're not getting justice is you're not doing it the right way. I would hope that people of color, especially in the United States, do not fall for that, because the truth is, I
don't think that's an issue. I don't think we do. I don't think we have that problem.
Oh, wait a minute.
I can't speak for all black people, but I don't think black people subscribe to that. At least not the ones I talk to.
Okay, well, there are a couple of them, a couple of elected officials who I do question, and you see who.
Yeah. You ain't telling me you were bringing him into the conversation.
No, not him. Not just him. Not just him.
I ain't talking about.
No, because. No, if you look at who objected to the certification and the ratification of Joe Biden, just look down the list. Yeah. Okay. Right. So we ain't in the clear.
So you're talking about them?
We ain't in the.
You think they repent? You think they repent is what you're saying? You're talking about that group of people?
I would hope their eyes are open. We had John Ridley on earlier time, the writer of Undercover Brothers. So, I don't know. Maybe people can learn some things. But I would just say this, Mike, in all seriousness. I think if people understand nothing else, they should know that black people in America, for the most part, have actually followed the ideals. Like, black people in America believe in the ideals more than the people who benefit from them. In other words, they weren't thinking about us. The founding fathers were not thinking about us. We even had to fight for humanity. Hey, ask Dred Scott about humanity.
We keep saving this country from itself, man. We continue to save this country.
We couldn't even be recognized as human beings. So they weren't thinking about us. We were not people. We were property. We had no souls. We had no spirits. And so for us, that document was not written for us. And yet, we're the ones who say, hey, it's peaceful protests. We're not trying to overthrow the government. We're trying to make the government be better. This American experiment, we're trying to continue the experiment and constantly perfect it. Hey, Barack Obama just put out a book. What's the book called? Promised Land.
I think the difference. Because
he believes it.
As we go to break, I think the difference, I'll simplify it. Well, first I'll just say the issue continues to be that we deal with the symptoms and not the root cause. I don't know that America is ever really ready to come to grips with the root of it all, because that's literally what this country's foundation is racism. As many people have said, it's an original. Racism is so American until you consider it anti-American by protesting racism. But it comes down to this.
Yeah.
Black people want justice. White supremacists want power. Those people yesterday, they were there for power. They were there for privilege. We're looking for justice.